Good afternoon, morning, evening, whatever time of day you may be watching this. Today I would like to start a discussion, either below this video or on the GCGGAMES forum, which I will leave a link to, about philosophies of programming. I'd like to begin the discussion with my own philosophies. Remember that this is a discussion, excuse me, not an argument. So my philosophy is divided into about two parts. The procedural part and the object-oriented part. The procedural part is relatively slow, so I will begin with that. Procedural programming is what the computer understands, what the computer is meant for, if you will. The computer is what it does, what it says in its name. It computes. This will be useful later on in my philosophy. Procedural is computing. It takes data, it modifies data, and it moves data. Computing. And processes data, of course. Now, object-oriented. Object-oriented, we can agree mostly across universal languages, is for the most part classes and inheritance. I'm going to exclude interfaces and delegates, events, etc. from this, because I'm mainly a C++ programmer. But classes, I feel the class is for taking data and being able to instantiate it, where as a procedurals all fine and dandy until you say, want to make multiple goblins in your game, for example, and you have to make an array of this and that, and ugly function arguments, and etc. But with class, you can easily, make some data in it, possibly modify some function, function that you inherited from base class, such as so you won't have to make a function like attack A, attack B, attack C, or a method, excuse me. And you can easily instantiate this data, as I said, instead of making all those arrays. But I feel like people misuse the class a lot. A lot of people want to take real-world objects and shove them into the computer, which is not what a computer is for. It is for computing. The computer won't understand that, and your procedural part of your code, when you reach it, because obviously more of the object-oriented part is first, won't gist well. A computer is not for definitions mainly, which is what you're trying to do. You're trying, like, a lot of people are trying, not you specifically, but a lot of people try to say, oh, this is a tree, so I'll make a class around a tree. What a class should be is more based around the data and the functionality of it. Because, as I said, a class is more for data and less, making and defining a real-world object such as a tree for a game or whatever. Now, what I also feel a class is for is being an interchangeable part. Let's say we have a game. In the game, we have an entity-based class that has a method attack, virtual method. And we have two classes inheriting from that, our goblin and our character. Both of them have this method attack. Now, you can have a new function, method, external to those classes that has a template argument for two classes, for two different forms of class, and takes two instances of whatever, well, one instance of each. Now you can run those attack functions in that method we have designed with the template class. That is how I kind of feel that a class is a interchangeable part. The same as if we made an ogre class that also inherited from entity, we could also put it in there. So I feel, in a way, a lot of people are sort of breaking the computer when they're trying to shove real world into computer world. We have to get inside the mind of the computer. Another thing that I feel is wrong recently, more than the shoving real world objects into the computer, is that a lot of people focus on the object-oriented part of a program too much. This is mainly probably because the object-oriented part comes first. Well, you kind of make a circular argument, if you will, when you only focus on the object-oriented design and not the procedural part of the program. And you kind of seal it off from the procedural part, so when you actually get to the procedural part, you have messy code, it doesn't function well, it's slow, etc. And my feeling on how people should program, or I'm not saying you should program like this, but this is how I program, is it should be very linear. It should, classes should be just for holding data and instantiating data, and occasionally a method that you don't want to make attack A, attack B, attack C, like I said before. And classes should be plugged in to other functions, like an interchangeable part, and a lot more focus should be put on procedural part. And those are my personal philosophies, and I would like you people out there on YouTube to share your own philosophies with the rest of us. Thank you for watching.